Alwaita discipuli. This lesson is all about the nouns. So it is very important to first understand that while English relies on word order in order to indicate function, Latin relies on endings to indicate function, and this is why we need to memorize our endings charts with the nouns. So in Latin, the nominative case is always the subject or the subject complement. An English example is the kid throws. We know that the kid is the subject in English because it comes before the verb. The kid is the one that's doing the verb. And next we have the dative in Latin. It is usually the indirect object. Occasionally it can be the direct object. We'll talk more about that on the next slide. For example, the kid throws the ball for the dog. I could have also put here to the dog. Both of those would be examples of the indirect object. So these three words right here would all be indicated in one word in Latin, and that word would be in the dative case. Then we have the accusative. It can be either the direct object or the object of a preposition. We're not going to get into objects of preposition a whole lot right now. Right now I want to focus more on the direct object, meaning it is directly receiving the action of the verb. Here the verb is throws. What's being thrown? The ball. So the ball is the direct object. Ablative. The ablative is the object of a preposition. For example, the kid throws the ball over the house. Over is a preposition. The house is what is being thrown over. So again, English relies on word order to indicate function. Latin relies on endings to indicate function. All right, back to what I said on the previous slide about some verbs taking the dative as the direct object. So far we know 5 of them. There aren't a ton, but just to help you start getting used to them and start memorizing them, I do include them in the flashcards. So for example, credo, credere, credidi. It means to trust, to believe, to have faith in. It's a third conjugation verb, and it takes the dative as its direct object. So these are just screenshots of the 5 different verbs we have and what they look like in the flashcards so that you can start memorizing them if you haven't done so already. All right, let's look at the first declension. The first declension is 99% feminine. Just as a reminder, all nouns in Latin have a gender. It doesn't mean, that it's... For example, table is feminine. It's not a logical thing. So the nominative singular is a, dative singular ae, am, a with a line over it for the ablative, ae, is, as, and is. So those are all of your endings. Let's see them in function. All right, I encourage you to right now pause the video, write down this sentence, and then right above each word, write out its function. So if it is the subject, write an S. If it is the verb, write a V. If it's the direct object, write a DO. If it's the indirect object, write an IO. I have prep phrases marked off in parentheses for now because that's just not the focus of this lesson. All right, so hopefully when you wrote it out, you put an S over metella and an est over, a V over est, because that's the verb. We know that metella is the subject because she ends in an A and it does not have an accent over it, therefore it's the nominative and the subject. All right, Melissa viam spectat. Again, pause the video, write it out, try to label each of these on your own, and then unpause and check your work. All right, so we have Melissa is in the nominative, so she's the subject. Viam is accusative singular, so direct object. Spectat is our verb, so Melissa looks at the street. Ancili caenam puellis parant. Ancili, that is nominative plural. Caenam is accusative singular. Puellis is dative plural. And then we have our verb parant. Okay, we know that ancili is nominative plural as opposed to dative singular because our verb is plural. If we tried to make this dative, then we would have no subject and it just wouldn't make sense. Sometimes you just have to look at the other clues in the sentence to figure out if you're looking at the dative singular or the nominative plural. So, the slave girls prepare dinner for the boys, for the girls. All right, metella togis fawet. This is an example of where a verb takes the dative as the indirect object. So Metella is our subject. She's in the nominative. Metella favors or prefers togas. Fawit takes the dative. This is is. This is right here, but it is functioning as our direct object, so we label it as the do. All right, Ankila, wila, exit. Ankila is the subject. Exit is the verb. This is a prepositional phrase. The slave girl exits out of the house. Puella ad tabernum ambulat. Puella is our subject because it's nominative singular. Ambulat is our verb. Ad tabernum is a prep phrase. So the girl walks to the store. First declension, gender. The vast majority of first declension nouns are feminine. However, there's a handful of them that are masculine, and they are professions, such as nauta, poeta, agricola, pirata, and scriba. So that's sailor, poet, farmer, pirate, and scribe. Second declension. Second declensions are all masculine and neuter. Because there are two genders going on here and they do work a little bit differently, I have this backslash here. So whenever you see a backslash in the boxes, that means the stuff to the left is masculine, just like up here. Think of this as your code, your legend. Stuff to the right is the neuter. All right, so in the nominative singular, our masculines can end in either us or The neuters can end in, or usually end in um. For the dative, both of them are the same. For the accusative singular, they're the same. Ablative singular, they're the same. Over here to the plurals, this is the masculine side, this is the neuter side. They're the same in the dative plural. They're a bit different, though, in the accusative. So this is the masculine side, this is the neuter side. All right, examples. Puer est in atrio. Puer is our subject because it is nominative singular. We know that because of up here. So the boy is in the atrium. Amicus domino credit. This is another example where we have a verb that takes the dative as its direct object. So domino is dative singular, but we're going to translate it as our direct object. The friend trusts the master. Servi venum dominis parat. Servi, it ends in an accented I, so this is up here, it's our nominative plural. The slaves, ooh, I have a typo in here, this should be parant. So the slaves prepare wine, this is our direct object because it's accusative, for the masters. This is dative plural. So again, the slaves prepare wine for the masters. Venum est in cubiculo. Venum is a neuter noun, so that's how we know that it could be nominative or accusative, but this isn't an action verb. This is just a linking verb. It's just the verb to be. And the sentence translates, wine is in the bedroom. So it's not receiving any sort of action. This type of sentence with this type of verb does not need a direct object. Quintus est filius. All right, here we have a good example of a subject complement. Quintus is nominative singular, but so is filius. This is a linking verb, so think of it as an equal sign. What's on one side is going to be the same as what's on the other side. So Quintus is the son. Signa in tablino sunt. All right, so you're probably wondering why I put what appears to be a first declension feminine noun in here, but it's not. In the nominative singular, this word is signum. It is a neuter noun. Therefore, this is either nominative plural or accusative plural. So we look at our verb. Our verb is plural, so we want the verb to be, it means are. Therefore, this is the nominative plural. So the signs are in the study. All right, second declension gender. Like I said before, it's either masculine or neuter. There are two neuter rules that you absolutely have got to memorize. First, the nominative and the accusative are always the same, and this is true for every single declension. Secondly, the nominative and the accusative plural are always a. Again, this is true for every single declension. All right, third declension. Third declension, I also use this backslash to divide the endings that are different. So on the left side will be the masculine and feminine, and they are the same. On the right side will be the neuters. I have written the odd box. This is because the words that go in here don't really follow a pattern. Some teachers indicate it in a different way. This is just the typical way that I do it. The dative singular in the third declension is an accented I. Then we have em here. On the right side of the backslash, we have a representation for the neuter. Whatever the neuter is in the nominative, which is odd, it's going to also be in the accusative. So that's why down here there is odd as well. Then we have our ablative. Over here we have accented es in the nominative and the accusative plural. That's for the masculine and feminine. But in the neuter, according to our neuter rules, the second one, the nominative and the accusative plural are always a. And then we've got ibus for the dative and the ablative plural. All right. Mercator est in nave. Mercator is a subject because we know that because it's the nominative singular. It ends in or. That goes in the odd box. Nothing else here ends in or, so we throw it in the odd box. So the merchant is in the ship. All right, pax patri placet. Pax is our subject. We know that because there's no box up here with an X in it. It goes in the odd box. All right, and then patri is an accented I. It's dative, which is usually our indirect object. However, placet takes the dative as the direct object. So peace is pleasing to the Father, or peace pleases the Father. Senex clamorem audit. Senex is our subject because it goes in the odd box. Clamorem is an accusative. It's our direct object. Audit is our verb. So the old man hears the uproar. Juvenis ad turbem currit. The young man runs to the city. Rex est canis. I capitalized the R here in Rex because I wanted it to actually be a name. So Rex is a dog. Rex does also mean king. I suppose you could translate it as the king is a dog. But both of these are nominative. This is your subject. This is a subject complement. Canes in centurione dormiunt. Canes is our subject, dormiunt is our verb. Now canes, this es here, could be nominative or accusative in form, but once you go to translate it, you would realize it doesn't make any sense as the direct object. Also, another clue, our verb is plural, so it needs a plural subject, therefore it makes sense for this to be the plural. The dogs are sleeping on the centurion. All right, third declension gender. Remember, all three genders appear in the third declension. The masculine and feminine are always the same. The neuter is a little bit different. That's what that backslash is for. Quick review, 2 neuter rules. The nominative and accusative are always the same. The nominative and accusative plural are always a. Remember, English relies on word order to indicate function. Latin relies on endings to indicate function. So, know your endings. Walete.